Hey, everybody, welcome back to our second segment. So, LJ, well, first off, if you're listening to this on the podcast, we're going to tell you, you're probably going to want to hop over to our YouTube channel and see the video, because LJ taught me today about filters here in Zoom. So we've been playing with filters, and we got some cool ones. I see that you changed your eyewear during the break.
I'm jazzy now.
Yeah.
I'm feeling very jazzy. I have my jazz hands up, and I'm feeling jazzy with my jazzy sunglasses here.
Very nice. They look really cool. I've invited a few of my friends to hang out around me.
Jocelyn is surrounded by smiling faces. I love it.
Oh boy. Okay. So, as we've told you before, we like to have fun too. So, because as you'll recall, if you've listened to season 1 at all, we literally just kind of started this podcast on, let's go start a podcast. We didn't wait for the fancy stuff. And as you can see, we're still not that fancy. We're like, our lighting's improving. We're making
our lighting
progress,
has improved significantly. Our audio probably too.
Yeah, but we're still working on it. It's a work in progress. But hey, we're really thankful to all of you who listen to us. Tell your friends.
Tell your friends, darling. Tell your
friends. Yeah. So when we left off, we were talking about kind of the leadership and really leading within, and then I was obviously going off on the tirade of like, stop talking about your partner in public. I mean, especially you ladies, but this goes for the men too. Okay, so that's probably a whole nother podcast that LJ and I could probably do for several hours on that. But when we bring it back into the workplace, one of the bad things is, if the leader themselves are doing that, that means that the rest of the culture within the organization, maybe not 100%, but there is a certain amount of the culture that's doing that. And the truth is, it can really tank your business. And I don't care what business you're in. I don't care if it's for-profit or nonprofit. It literally can tank you. You can, maybe you do go to work for an organization, maybe you badmouthed it one time, but the truth of the matter is, more time than not, after a while that gets around and you will not get a job. I don't care how well you're known in your local community. If you're running a job, or if you open your own firm, it's harder to get clients, because that's how people start looking at you through that lens. But the other thing is when that's talked about, and oftentimes people say gossip, and it's not always gossip, not in the traditional sense of what we think of as gossip, but when people are doing that, it really starts creating a culture that is not tolerant. I'm going to say that nicely. It's not tolerant of other thoughts, of other ideas. It's not tolerant of people that are different, whether that is coworkers or, clients. And that too affects, all of it affects the type of revenue and impact that you can actually have. And I know this is a newsflash to people. I'm just gonna say it's a newsflash here, but you actually need revenue to be able to have the impact that you want to have. Doesn't matter what the tax structure of business is.
It's true.
You need revenue to change the life, not just your life, but the lives of your team and their families. And if you're doing that, you're going to have a revolving door, in my opinion.
It's true.
Just,
But you said something that really hit me. And as I think about what effective leadership should look like during a pandemic, effective leadership has to be graceful. It has to be graceful because you are in such volatile times that things are just constantly, shifting and changing. You might be standing firm on a conviction today that you're not standing on next week. You have to give yourself grace, like you said, give your team grace, because you've got to be tolerant of differences in opinion, differences in how we do work. Um, I know with my team, sometimes my team members come to the office and sometimes I let them work from home. We have to be able to structure out work in a way that allows for people to know how to be productive,
Exactly.
even when they're not physically next to you, even when you're not sort of managing by walking around. People need to have the structure and the understanding of the work that you're doing, the vision. What's the vision? What's your why? If that is clear, then people can get the work done wherever they are. They could be at Starbucks getting the work done. They could be at a bookstore. They could be anywhere, out at a park, in a totally serene environment, and able to produce some really high quality work for you because they have a peace of mind. That's what leadership has to be: efficacious nowadays. And we have to be efficacious in the sense that we have to ensure that we are organized and we're structured. I think that there's a conversation I had recently with one of my mentees about her business plan. Her business plan was 6 pages. And I told her, I said, you're already going wrong because it shouldn't be more than one. If your business plan is more than 1 page, then you obviously are, you're in over your head. You're not understanding why you need to have a team. You cannot cavalier this by yourself. I don't care how beautiful your plans are and how much how much you think you can do on your own. You cannot cavalier it by yourself. You want to have leadership that's technically capable and technically competent, of course. If all else fails, we need to be able to make sure the business still runs. But the reality is that the business cannot be run by one person. It doesn't work that way. You've got to have, even if they're not employees and they're just, 1099s or subcontractors, whoever you bring in, you've got to have, they're your team as well. These are your team members. These are the other people that you have to sort of rely on to get certain aspects of work done that are outside of your natural capability or your learned capability. So I think that effective leadership during a pandemic not only has to be graceful, they also have to have a very clear understanding of their business plan. You've got to have a business plan that is agile, it's culturally responsive, it's strategic, and it's tactical. You've got to have business plan that is really steeped in the short term right now. You've got to have a business plan that's very much steeped in the short term. How can I make money immediately? How can I make sure that I have opportunities constantly sort of flowing into the business? I can't just be sitting here like a lame duck waiting for my publicist or whoever else on my team to give me a call and let me know when there's an opportunity for something paid. I have to be actively going out there and developing relationships and developing leads. That's what effective leadership during the pandemic has to look like. And again, you have to have some sort of sense, there's got to be some mystery around you. I think that's like the third thing for me. First one was gracefulness. The second one is this, dexterity as it relates to your business plan.
Right.
And I think the third thing to cap it off would be that you have to have some mystery about you. I think this day and age, it's so easy to be an open book, and it's so easy to treat social media like a diary. And I'm not going to say that's a negative thing, right? I'm going to say, though, what happens is, especially for women in business, it's different for women in business, than it is for men in business. For women in business, especially women in the professional services sector, you have to make sure that what you put out on social is consistent with your brand. What type of clients are you looking to attract? Does the information that you post on social, does it align with that particular client. If you want to work with people who are healthcare professionals, are you putting out the type of information that healthcare professionals would see and say, oh, this is something that's relevant or pertinent to the work that I do or to a passion that I have, right?
Right.
You've got to, but you also have to have a mystery about you, because you want to make sure that you don't just sort of lay bare everything about who you are to people. I have clients, you already know what I'm going to say, Jocelyn, we've had this conversation for years.
Yeah.
You'll have clients who come to you, they have a great idea. The idea immediately goes on Facebook the same day that they came up with it. I'm going to put this together and I'm going to publish this in 3 months. 3 months comes and they haven't published anything, because the idea was not supposed to be shared publicly. You should have kept it to yourself until you knew for sure that it was going to be, published.
Do it. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, that you're going to do it.
It's one thing it's literally one thing to announce something in the sense of, like, as you know, not quite 2 years ago, about 18 months ago, I signed with the publisher. And, we've been working on it. Of course, like everybody, we thought something 2020 and there it went. But, like for me, I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and every day, oh, I'm working $500. Who cares? I mean, like, who cares? That has nothing to do with anything. There have been, reasons, and I'm going to say this from the standpoint of the one thing, as you know, from writing a book, and I've written a lot of stuff, and and doing this, and but like we got, I think I got like 15,000, 20,000 words on paper, and quite literally went, well, this is good, but as far as the book I want to put out there, and as far as really like what I want to say, this ain't it, and there is this whole thing about how some projects morph and they change, and even businesses. I mean, even my business, and we've talked about this. When we very first met, we talked about this, which is, 20 years ago, this company was economic development site selection firm that also did, federal grant management and stuff, because I knew how to do that, right? Mm-hmm. Today, my main company, because I actually have a couple others, but my main company, Vanconi Business Strategies, which is the oldest, the 20 years ago. Today, we are a business leadership development and education training firm. Things change, but we didn't go out 3 years ago publicly and go, y'all, we're going to become this. Now, we knew internally that was the direction we were working on heading, because we had been working on that over time, right? And streamlining things. But, too many people announce stuff too fast.
With no real intention. My thing is it's okay.
Well, yeah, exactly.
If you have the intention set and you've already got a business plan laid out, you know exactly how you're going to execute this, at least you have some ideas that you put together, you got some formulations. Announcing that is okay, because now you're just basically building street cred. You're building anticipation for this product that you're gonna release. That's okay. That is totally fine.
Yeah, that's totally okay.
Right? The issue though is that most of the time what we see is crud. We don't see anything that actually comes into fruition. That's what hurts.
Or what you see is you see somebody who's like da 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 da, and then all of a sudden they post something from the standpoint of, well, I didn't execute because of this or that. But it's more because 2 reasons. They didn't take personal responsibility for it, and they didn't take any type of action. I mean, even just a little smidge. We've all been there and thought, oh, let's go do this, from like, especially entrepreneurs, because we do that. And let's go try this. And maybe really we get into it and it's kind of like, yeah, that seemed like a good idea at the time. And so I mean, for lack of a better word here, hopefully, I don't offend any ears here, but we half-ass it. And but I was listening to I caught a Gary V video the other day, and he was talking about laziness.
Yes.
And he said, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually how I always thought about it. He goes, you know what? We're not really lazy. People really aren't lazy. We're only lazy when we really don't want to do something. So even when we agree to do something or we announce we're going to do this because, let's say, even in business, people try to keep up with the Smiths and the Joneses and the, Lees of the world. I mean, they just, and the thing about it is, why? Go be you. I mean, literally just go be you. Look, that didn't start, look, I actually, my hair's almost matching the color of my wall right now.
I love that.
Right? But
I mean, it's the
just
market,
go be you.
Even the marketplace, you look at a lot of the active trades for today, a lot of the pharmaceutical companies, et cetera, they're on pink sheets until they get past $1 per share, right? So they actively have to make announcements about potential federal contracts, things of that sort, without having the contract in hand.
Right.
So that's what we're saying. It is okay, folks, for you to, if you know that this is what you're working on, you're working on a proposal, you're going to submit the proposal, you're just hoping and praying that whatever pressure that your social posts add, bring some sort of attraction and advantage to your proposal. I mean, that is strategic, that's political. We get it. What do they call it? Buy the rumors, sell the news. Got you. Okay, got you. Nice, old trading adage. But what we want to make sure is that there's the intention. Effective leaders are going to have the intention of producing. Again, to what you're saying, Jocelyn, with Gary V saying we're not lazy when it comes to stuff that we want to get done.
It's the
so
truth.
If you're telling me, yeah, get it. If you're really interested in making something happen, and you're laying out what you need to do to get it done, then more power to you. But if you are just speaking just to see if something catches, if the spaghetti noodle sticks to the wall, you're not really hurting, you're not helping yourself. You're causing more harm, because people are looking on your social and they're looking in other public spaces and they're trying to figure out what you're all about anyway.
Exactly.
And it's almost like false advertising. It's like, oh, well, didn't you say you were going to do this and then you didn't do, so you have to be very careful about your track record.
Well, exactly. And I think that's, you said the magic word, the spaghetti noodle, and we won't go there, but you know what that does when you say spaghetti noodle, how I feel about that. But, so that's probably a whole different revisit of that subject. But, I mean, I think that's being an effective leader in the end is being able to take a 360-degree view, in my opinion, and sometimes emotionally remove yourself, which sometimes it's very hard, especially in the last 18 months that we've all collectively had around the world. It can be really hard to do that. But there are things that you can do. There's ways you can support. There's ways that you can make sure you don't, just put stuff out there. And if you're just starting out in business, don't just throw stuff out there like spaghetti noodles. From that type of thing, we call that, sometimes you'll hear it as the shotgun effect, or throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing what sticks. Because when you try to build a business that way, you may be successful. I mean, honestly, there are people who've been successful. So I'm not going to tell you that you might not make money, but you're not going to have a good long-term company. It could be really, you know, there's a lot of songs out there that they're good songs, but those bands were one-hit wonders.
Mhm.
And so it's about, you know, I'm just going to say in closing is that business is a long game. It's a marathon.
It's a marathon.
It's a marathon.
And people have long memories,
Yes, they do.
very long memories of what it is that you've done and how you've represented yourself in the context of that business.
Exactly. They do. And neither LJ nor I would tell you that, you know, don't think that either one of us would say we've been perfect all the years, even with our clients, with everything else. But the truth is, it still comes down to how you also handle your imperfections with those team members, with those clients, with those, you know, I mean, nobody may ever want to work for each other again or work together or be clients again or anything like that. But if you handle it right, even when you're not perfect, there will still at least be some respect and, you know, hopefully not bad mouthing.
Not many burnt bridges.
You know, because you just don't know, guys. We've both ended up working for people that we never thought we'd work for. You know, we've both ended up doing probably projects and stuff with folks that we never thought we would. And in some cases, you know, I know for me in my career and in all the years that I've been doing this too, you know, sometimes it's been people that like, we didn't get along, you know, but you have to be able to work together. And whether anybody likes it or not, we took a monumental business shift last year. And that is for a totally different podcast, but I've had some conversations on that this week. So that might be our next topic next week. But having said that, you know, and we're still going through a shift. And so at the end of the day, guys, give yourself grace, give the people you're working with grace. As LJ said, don't just keep throwing stuff against the wall, you know, the spaghetti. Don't put stuff out there that you don't actually intend to execute on.
Amen. It doesn't help your team. And you, as a good, effective leader, an effective leader is always the best servant. Effective leaders are always the best servants. And it does not serve your people well when you're just selling them false lies, falsehoods.
Exactly. Well, folks, that is our show for this time. We hope that you will join us and support our sponsors. If you'd like to learn more about helping sponsor this show, just reach out to us. And you can always reach out to us on our Facebook page. And from there, we have different social media handles, so you can reach out to us that way as well. And we shall see you all next time. Bye.